The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order. The NWO was inducted into the 2020 Hall of Fame this year. I did get a chance to watch that. The Hall of Fame was kind of stupid this year. It's always been so rough because I love the Hall of Fame. I love seeing the legends. I love the nostalgia. I love seeing everybody all dressed up and slightly out of character, just kind of relaxing and in that atmosphere. I love the celebration of history. I love all the old stories and the funny stories and the tragic stories and the roller coaster ride. The Hall of Fame is special to me for that. But at the same time, it's had a long, long history of, hour-long fucking inductions that go on and on and on from a guy you don't really care about to begin with, and you just want to shoot yourself in the head to when they try to overcompensate for that, and everybody's is too short. Now there's no audience, and it's all chopped and edited, and it's just, I don't know. But the NWO got inducted, and we got to see Hall and Nash and Hollywood Hogan and Six. And no doubt the NWO has had a fucking Hall of Fame legacy, right? Like, what would be professional wrestling right now if it weren't for the NWO? It was the hottest fucking thing, period, end of story. I think the only thing that could possibly be compared to what the NWO achieved was maybe Austin 316, and they were right around the same time. But when you want to talk about just a major pop culture fucking t-shirt in Walmart situation, right? They're just a bajillion t-shirts being sold. It was the NWO, maybe closely followed by Stone Cold. They are closely followed. Stone Cold's the biggest t-shirt merchandise seller, period, for WWE ever. So financially, the biggest star ever WWE had is Stone Cold Steve Austin. I would say the same thing would be the NWO for WCW, and I would say the NWO is probably bigger if you were to add the two numbers up. So with that said, but probably not by much. So with that said, the NWO was the most over fucking thing in the business. But here's a clip of Bryan Alverez talking about why maybe he doesn't think so much. Check this out.
Exactly like Nash said, everybody wanted to see us get beaten, and we just kept going. And they kept going and going and going.
For years.
There was
and
no
years
end.
And years.
The closest they had to an end, sort of, was when Sting was going to beat Hogan at Starrcade. Now, forget the whole fuck up with Nick Patrick, okay? Do you guys remember the follow-up to that after Sting beat Hogan?
We watched it.
It was all about Hogan and getting heat back on the NWO. That was not the end. That was one little happy ending battle in a giant war that never ended, okay?
He's not wrong. Heat. It's all it was every single week was the NWO beating the shit out of the WCW guys and making them look like bitches, making them look like jobbers. The only WCW guys that got over in the NWO era was Goldberg, Sting, and fucking DDP. Booker T did, despite everything, and he managed to do it by kind of staying away from the NWO. I mean, I could be wrong, but to the best of my knowledge, Booker T his storylines were not really directly involved with working with the NWO, and that probably helped him for the long run. The NWO had a couple guys that they worked with that they let get over on them, which was Sting and DDP and Goldberg. And outside of that, basically everybody got squashed. So he's not wrong. So at that point, but I don't look back at it so negatively, like I said before the clip, I put over the NWO very strong. I think looking back at my childhood, I can't remember anything bigger in wrestling history than the NWO to this day. And it's not and I think the numbers will back it. As I said, the closest thing to it would be Steve Austin, but I think the numbers would support NWO. Just a guess. So I don't feel the same way Alvarez does as far as just shitting on the whole angle, but taking it into consideration, let's kind of sit back here and like, how do you properly end the NWO storyline? What would have been the best out there? There was a handful of times that somebody got over on the NWO. I thought Roddy Piper did a great job. You know, some would say he cut some shitty promos in there, or maybe his matches were lackluster. I don't care about any of that. I don't expect everybody to have a fucking Dean Malenko Chris Benoit wrestling match. I'm sorry. I know a lot of you people do, and I appreciate them as much as the next. I love a fucking great wrestling match. I love it above probably anything else. But I also enjoy story. I enjoy a good story. I enjoy characters. I enjoy seeing legends and icons. And to me, Roddy Piper was still a huge, huge star. When he came to WCW, I was pumped for it. When he walked out, I was psyched. And he got into it with Hulk Hogan, and he actually got to beat Hulk Hogan, but he didn't win the championship. I think he still was very opposed to doing jobs. So I don't know if maybe he just didn't want to drop the title back. It doesn't matter. I'm speculating at this point. I guess the point I'm going down this road is Roddy Piper was one that got a win over the NWO, got a win over Hogan, but he wasn't going to be the guy to take down the NWO and win for WCW necessarily. So it wouldn't be that. I think Giant got over on Hulk Hogan, but he ended up just joining the NWO, and of course now he's the fucking Big Show and blah, right? Yeah, right? Am I right? But so it wasn't going to be the Giant that really ultimately shut down the NWO. Stinger, the Sting angle was the biggest angle in like, if you want to say the NWO was the biggest thing in history, the biggest angle I think in pro wrestling history, if it wasn't, and they coincide, quite frankly. You could say it was Austin McMahon, you can say it was Sting and the NWO. Because Sting, when he came out there, when everything they did was so perfect with Sting right up until the actual match itself. The Sting being the fucking hero of WCW, wearing the neon still, the Surfer Sting, and talking and just being a stinger, being the Stinger Man, as Ricky Starks would say. And they did the thing where they had the imposter Sting help out the NWO, and the whole WCW locker room, all of Stinger's friends, Lex Luger even, they all doubted Sting. They all turned on Sting. They all thought Sting had turned his back on WCW and helped the NWO. It was a great angle, an imposter Sting. Everybody starts to hate Sting, and Sting fucking turns. He finally says, I've been here for you guys forever, through everything. You think I would do this to you? This is what you think of me? Then fine. Then I'm walking away from this. And he started showing up not too long after that, sitting up in the rafters, just wearing the black with the white crow paint, from the Crow. And he would just sit there and fucking and watch, and wouldn't help anybody get beat up. He watched WCW get squashed every single night, like Alvarez says, and he'd just watch. Then when he finally did make his play, all he had to do was point his fucking bat. Oh my God. So everything, I'm not going to walk you through it all because I don't want to take up your time telling the whole story of the NWO. But everything they did right up until that final match. Now Bischoff tells a story about, it was perfect. The whole build, it was probably my favorite angle in wrestling history. And I think that was a moment where you could have had WCW overtake or end the NWO, but they were kind of like right at their peak. So I don't know if that was the right time to do it, but it was absolutely the right time to pull the trigger. I don't know if it was the right time to end the NWO, but absolutely the right time to put the belt on Stinger. But it was politics then at that point. So Eric Bischoff tells a story that, him and Hulkster got to talking, brother. And Sting was a little too not so tanned and not so in shape, and maybe gimmicked up a little bit, and who knows. So let's take the belt right back off of him. And you know what? With baby faces like that, it's more with the chase and not the reign. So that's fine if they were going to take it right back off of them. And then what did they end up doing shortly after that? And that's probably how I would have booked it too. Maybe not taking it off of Sting right away, but it wasn't time to end the NWO. The time to end the NWO would have been when Goldberg beat Hulk Hogan. That's the guy. That was the time. That's when you would have done it. Maybe you follow that up with a War Games, like you're done, Hulk. You're never getting another title shot. You're out of here. And Hulk's like, you know what? We'll put it all on the line in a fucking War Games match or something. They could have did something cool, a loser leaves town, or not, maybe not the end, but they have to disband, or I don't know. I'm not the fucking booker, but you get what I'm saying. I think that was the moment, because that's when after Goldberg beat Hulk, that's when the NWO started to decline. That's when they split into the Wolfpack and the NWO Hollywood, and then that just watered the whole thing down. All the cool guys were in the Wolfpack, but it was red and yellow, and it wasn't just, they weren't very NWO-y anymore. And NWO Hollywood looked more NWO-y, but they were the old guys and the boring guys. It was like Hulk Hogan and the fucking other, I don't even remember who else was in it. But I know, like, fuck, that's where, like, you would find your Horace Hogans and shit like that. So I think that's, you end the NWO with Goldberg, and you launch Goldberg that much more with that. That's how I would have did it. I'd be open to hearing your guys' thoughts. Definitely, if you're listening to this on YouTube, feel free to leave something in the comments on how you would have booked the end of the NWO. Great conversation to have. I don't think Alvarez was wrong, but at the same time, I do still think the NWO was the greatest thing going. Did they end it good? Maybe it was like a Stephen King book, right? Like a fantastic story. The ending sucks. And that's pretty much what it was. So anyway, moving on. Let me tell you something, brother. You can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on this channel, dude. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to take your vitamins and say your prayers, brother.